prieks jūs šodien visus šeit redzēt. IT industrija. Jāsaka, ka šis ir pēdējais webinārs mūsu 4 webināru ciklā ar lielo mērķi pastāstīt par to, kas notiek Tuvajos Austrumos un arī pastāstīt, kā tad jūs, lieliskie uzņēmēji, varēsiet piedalīties LIA vai Expo komandas organizētajos pasākumos Expo 2020 ietvaros. Mani sauc Inga Ulmane, un es esmu LIA pārstāve apvienotajos Arābu Emirātos, atrodos šeit jau 6 gadus, un skatos arī, ka šodien skatītāju pulciņā mums ir daudzi uzņēmēji no IT sektora, kā reiz, kas jau ir bijuši pie mums šeit Emirātos, vai kas ir izrādījuši agrāk interesi, uzdevuši jautājumus, vai ar kuriem kopā esam organizējuši citus informatīvus pasākumus. Tā kā man ļoti liels prieks jūs visus redzēt. Laikam jāsaka, janvārī vēl ir pieklājīgi teikt arī laimīgu un veselīgu jauno gadu. Un man noteikti arī liels prieks redzēt tos drosmīgos un uzņēmīgos uzņēmējus, kas pavisam nesen vēl bija Dubajā. Tie, kas varbūt nezina, pagājušā gada 20. gada decembrī mēs organizējām Latvijas nacionālo paviljonu Gcc izstādē, kas ir lielākā IT nozares izstādē līdz reģionā un Tuvajos Austrumos, kas principā aptver visu sākot no Ziemeļa Āfrikas līdz pat Indijai. Un es pat teiktu, ka dalība beigās mums izvērsās ļoti pozitīva, tāpat kā citus gadus, jo tie, kas varbūt zina, tad LIA Gcc izstādē nacionālo paviljonu organizē arī jau faktiski sanāk 5 gadus. Jā, 15. gadā bija pirmā dalība Gcc izstādē, kas bija ļoti veiksmīga un bija uzņēmēji, kas principā kā pirmajā gadā sāka piedalīties, tā arī turpināja katru gadu atkārtot savu dalību, tīri kā reiz šo te veiksmīgo rezultātu iespaidā. Un kas bija interesanti šogad, protams, Covid dēļ, vairāk uzņēmēji diemžēl netika, lai arī bija pieteikušies, bet joprojām atbalstīja un piedalījās, bet kas bija jauki, ka mums parādījās savukārt jauni dalībnieki ar ļoti veiksmīgiem rezultātiem un tiešām produktīvu dalību izstādē. Un ceram, ka tā mēs varēsim turpināt arī šogad. Starp citu, mēs drīz arī atkal izsludināsim dalību Gcc izstādē 2021. gadā, tā kā esiet uzmanīgi, sekojot līdzi informācijai, bet par to tad mēs vēlāk pastāstīsim. Šodienas webinārs tātad mums dalīsies 2 blokos. Pirmajā blokā aptuveni stundu mēs jums izstāstīsim, kas tad ir šobrīd šīs te aktualitātes IT sektorā Tuvajos Austrumos ar lielāko uzsvaru uz apvienotiem Arābu Emirātiem un Saudarābiju. Kāpēc Saudarābiju? Tie, kas varbūt jau ir bijuši tirgū, zina, ka apvienotie Arābu Emirāti kā tirgus ir diezgan piesātināti. Ir pat industrijas, kurās es teiktu, ka tā konkurence ir pat pārsātināta. Un tā ieiešana tirgū ir pat, viņa ir grūta, ir tiešām dažkārt jācīnās par šo te uzmanību. Savukārt arī tirgus ir salīdzinoši mazs. Ja mēs skatāmies uz kaimiņu valstī Saudarābiju, tad savukārt tur tirgus ir gandrīz 5 reizes lielāks. Tirgus uz doto brīdi vēl ir arī, es varētu teikt, ka tukšāks, tieši kā reiz no piedāvājumu un konkurentu puses skatoties, kā arī tirgus ir diezgan tādā labā attīstības stadijā, ka šobrīd tiek veidota gan IT infrastruktūra, gan digitalizēti valsts pakalpojumi, veidota sasaiste arī kā reiz starp valsts un privāto sektoru. Un mēs tur esam identificējuši vairāk šos virzienus, kuros iespējams būtu daudz vienkāršāk ieiet tīri dēļ mazākas konkurences. Tieši šī iemesla dēļ mēs šodien webinārā par tirgus analīzi aptversim arī Saudarābiju. Vebināra tātad pirmā daļa tirgus analīze notiks angļu valodā, jo tie, kas ir bijuši tirgu un vai mēģinājuši strādāt ar šo te reģionu, zina, ka darba valoda ir angļu valoda. Savukārt, vebināra otrajā daļā mēs jūs informēsim par Latvijas dalību Expo 2020 un kā tad IT uzņēmumi var piedalīties. Principā divos blokos. Viens ir, kā var piedalīties virtuālā, jeb elektroniskā formātā attālināti. Un otrs bloks, kā tad mēs varam piedalīties faktoloģiski laika posmā no 1. oktobra līdz 31. martam jau 2022. gadā, tātad šajos 6 mēnešos, kad notiks pati Expo izstāde. Ja man mazliet jāraksturo, kas tad šobrīd notiek ar Covid situāciju Emirātos, tas droši vien ir pirmais jautājums, ņemot vērā, ka vienu reizi Expo jau ir bijis pārcelts. Tātad Expo mēs joprojām saucam Expo 2020, tāpēc, ka tas ir vairāk kā brenda vārds un tas tā arī paliks. Bet, protams, Expo pats tiek organizēts no 2021. gada 1. oktobra līdz 2022. gada 31. martam. Bet, jā, Gcc izstāde principā jau bija tāda pirmā platforma, kurā, ja tā varētu teikt, Emirāti pierādīja, ka viņi menedžē situāciju. Mums uzņēmēji varēja ļoti vienkārši atlidot. Protams, lidojumi ir mazliet sarežģītāki, bet tieši ielidošanas un izlidošanas un dzīvošanas ziņā šeit Emirātos es teiktu, ka situācija ir diezgan ērta un vienkāršota. Un arī šobrīd, principā, turistus pieņemam, biznesa ceļotājus pieņemam, pasākumi notiek. Principā vienīgie limiti, jeb ierobežojumi, protams, ir maskas, ir jāvalkā, distancēšanās joprojām ir aktuāla. Un ielidojot un izlidojot, ir jāuzrāda negatīvs tests. Visādi citādi es teiktu, kā vairāk uzņēmēji, kas man ir ielidojuši arī pēdējās nedēļās, saka, ka šeit ir vairāk vai mazāk tāda kā oāze. Protams, realitātē inficēto iedzīvotāju skaits gan Ziemassvētku, gan jaunā gada ietekmē ir audzis, bet tā situācija joprojām tiek menedžēta un Emirāti ļoti lepojas ar to, ka lai arī mums ir mazliet vairāk kā 8 miljoni iedzīvotāju, tad principā 1,5 miljonus iedzīvotāju jau ir vakcinēti. Līdz ar to tātad tiek veidot šī te sabiedrības imunitāte. Lūk, līdz ar to mums īsti nav pamata šobrīd domāt, kādēļ Expo varētu tikt pārcelts, tātad orientējamies un strādājam uz to, ka Expo šogad notiek un sāks jau oktobrī. Kādēļ mēs webinārus organizējam tik ļoti ātri jau janvārī? Tādēļ, ka tas mūsu mērķis ir sagatavot jūsu uzņēmējus maksimāli efektīvākai un produktīvākai dalībai Expo. Ar to domu, ka tātad tirgus izpētes informācija jums kalpotu kā tāds pašizpētes un pašanalīzes instruments, kad jūs varētu principā saprast, vai tas jūsu piedāvājums ir aktuāls tirgu, kas varbūt ir jāpielāgo, kas varbūt ir jāpapildina, varbūt nekas nav jāpielāgo, jāpapildina, bet vienkārši ir jāizveido vai jāpielāgo tirgu ienākšanas stratēģiju piemērotāk tuviem austrumiem. Un mēs, principā, šos webinārus arī organizējam ar domu, lai apzinātu, kuri uzņēmumi tad ir gatavi iesaistīties šajā mūsu kopīgajā, ja tā varētu teikt, iešanā uz tirgu globāli, jo, protams, ka Expo globāli tiek redzēts kā tāda gaisma tuneļa galā, jo pandēmija, protams, ir ietekmējusi visus, lai gan uzņēmēja darbība rāda, kā reiz arī ziņās, iespējams, esat jau lasījuši, ka mūsu eksportētāji, tā skaitā jūs, 2020. gadā ir sasnieguši jaunus rekordus un rezultāti ir bijuši ļoti produktīvi, bet, protams, jaunu klientu atrašana vai iespējams šo te kontaktu veidošana ir bijusi apgrūtināta īpaši tādā sarežģītā reģionā kā Tuvie Austrumi, kur šī te uzticība un kontakti tiek lielākoties veidoti klātienē. Nu, lūk, un šī iemesla dēļ mēs ar uzņēmējiem vēlamies sākt strādāt jau tagad, lai mēs attiecīgi varam jau nodefinēt pēc šiem te webināriem, ar ko tad strādāsim, kas būs tie partneri, kas būs uzrunājami Tuvajos Austrumos, un kā tad varēsim sadarboties kopīgi tālāk. Bet par to mēs pastāstīsim otrajā daļā. Tagad, lai lieki nekavētu laiku, došu vārdu mūsu konsultantam un pārslēgšos uz angļu valodu, kā reiz uz šo te tirgus analīzes sadaļu. So, dear distinguished audience, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Jose, who is the CEO of the Gulf Business Consulting. And he actually does have himself an IT-related company as well. He's not only working in consulting, but in the past years, he has been working with within the IT sector within United Arab Emirates. So he has not only the theoretical knowledge about the market, but he also has the practical knowledge about the market. But today, Mr. Jose will be giving you an overview of the IT industry in the United Arab Emirates and as well in Saudi Arabia. So Jose, the floor is yours. I think your camera is not on. I can see that your mic is on. Yeah, perfect. Just one more question for our distinguished audience. In case you have any questions, we will not be accepting the questions on the video or audio, but you are welcome to post your questions within the chat box or within the questions and answers down there. And right after Mr. Jose's presentation, we will reply all your questions that are related to the market research or analysis or any data within the market. Regarding the Expo, the questions we will be accepting after the second part. All right, Jose, here you go.
Thank you so much, Inga, for your kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Diego Manzanera. I'm the CEO and the founder of the company Gulf Business Consulting, operating in the Middle East for more than 15 years. And as Ms. Inga was saying, I'm partner of an audiovisual technology company called iMagic Middle East. We have done very interesting projects in the IT sectors and audiovisual in particular in the last few years, like 23 pavilions, all the audiovisuals for those pavilions in Expo. We did the branch of the future for Emirates NBD Bank, which is the largest commercial bank in Dubai and the one who is the biggest investor in IT in the banking industry in the UAE. And some projects for Road and Transport Authority of the UAE and Dubai Taxi. So it's an industry that I'm as Ms. Inga was saying, I'm personally involved with one of our companies. So I would like to take you through this presentation about the ICT market, putting special focus on the UAE and Saudi Arabia. The UAE because it's a country who is leading the path in the ICT sector in the region, and Saudi Arabia because it's the largest market in the region with more opportunities. So, but we will go through the GCC countries, which is the rich 6 countries of the region: Oman, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. So some of the key contents we will discuss is the success factors to enter into the market opportunities and growth, demand, and extra focuses, and market overview, and some case studies and business culture on how to do business into the region. To give you a market overview and taking an example of the UAE, the leading country into the IT industry, just to say that competition costs and budget pressures, shifting citizen demands, among other changes, are sparking governments all across GCC to implement more ICT capabilities. in the competitive global index in 2019, or pre-COVID projection for ICT spending growth is a 7.4 to reach 6.8 billion in the UAE and 2.4 around 37 billion in Saudi Arabia. As you can see, there is a massive amounts of money invested in the industry. The GCC countries are taking the lead in e-government. So the government, it's implementing, is the one who is implementing more technology into the services they provide to the citizens. UAE ranking the 21st globally, followed by Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, and Qatar. There is a long-term economic development strategies of the GCC that we will discuss further in the next slide, and investing in digitization of the economy, the 5G, the Internet of Things, SaaS, PaaS, artificial intelligence, together with flexible government regulations to speed up the process. And it's something that the pandemic has done. So IT, it's crucial for the Middle East, it's crucial for the GCC. And the market is quite mature and quite advanced. You have to keep in mind that the first free trade zone for IT sector established in the UAE was 22 years ago, Dubai Internet City in 1999. So they are creating that ecosystem of free trade zone to attract more startups and foreign investors from the ICT sector. So you can have a look here to the national visions and plans of the 6 countries, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Vision 2030, Oman Vision 2020, started last year. The new Kuwait, Qatar with several plans and strategies. 2021 vision of the UAE this year, and the 2030 vision of Saudi Arabia, which is quite ambitious plan, national plans, and the ICT and digital programs they are implementing. And let me tell you that these countries are your main clients. I want to highlight and remark this. So there is a big difference between European governments and the GCC governments. Normally in Europe, the private companies are leading the path into technology, innovation. Of course, the governments, the European governments are creating the environment and putting the regulations, but most of the startups and the SMEs are leading the path, are the new Googles, the new Facebook, the new Microsoft, and pushing the government to create more opportunities. But here is the government who is generating the main opportunities. So it's the government who is challenging the private sector. It's the government who is motivating and pushing the private sector to create the best technology. So these countries and their respective governments are the main clients and the main generators of opportunities. And before to come into the next slide about the challenges, I would like to teach you how to work with government and semi-government entities. So there is 2 ways to do it, basically, which is first is establish your company into the UAE or Saudi or any of the GCC countries, or to make a partnership or a joint venture, or to find a distributor into the country and to work with a local company. Because most of those opportunities I was discussing that come in from the government entities or the government or semi-government companies, they go through tenders. So if you want to participate in any of those opportunities, you have to apply to the tender through the tender. So, and of course, the government will request a minimum of 3 proposals from several companies to compare the offer, the prices, the quality, and the type of technology they are going to use in any of their requests. And this, you can only do it if you are a local company or you are working with and through a local company. Because normally those companies, just to put you an example, Etisalat or Du, which are the main telecommunication companies, and the UAE, they have their own portals for suppliers. So if you want to apply to win any of the projects, you have to apply for a tender through their online portals of suppliers. And for being a registered supplier with any of those big companies, you have to be established into the country. So we have 2 factors: the governments, the central governments, and the government of each Emirates inside. For example, in the case of the UAE, the government of Sharjah, the government of Ras Al Khaimah, the government of Dubai, of the government of Abu Dhabi, or if you are in Saudi, the government of Riyadh or Jeddah, or the central government of Saudi Arabia, they will always offer these opportunities through tenders. So, and if you want to apply and get access to any of those opportunities, you have to do it through a local company, being you, the one who established your own company and operations in the country, or working through a local company. Saying that, which is, I want to highlight, and this very practical information for you, I would like to continue with the key challenges of the market of the GCC in general, which is the data protection laws. Issues arise over the COVID-19 contact tracing application that you have to download. So there is many citizens that they have some concerns about the privacy and data protection, maintain user privacy. For example, the UAE and Saudi Arabia, they don't have any data protection law yet. Through the free trade zones, yes, they have some, especially the UAE and Qatar, but in general, as countries, not yet. Cybersecurity, due to the increased digitization of the whole industry, the GCC countries have become more vulnerable to cyber threats and cyber attacks. Policy bottlenecks, the regulatory bottlenecks that we have in many European countries, and of course, here as well in the GCC and the bureaucracy, generating longer timings, and digital exclusion and divide still remains an issue in the GCC, with a lack of adoption of these technologies to a certain part of the population. Even the broadband and smartphone and mobile penetration is one of the highest in the world. Moving to the key growth drivers, we have a large, young and dynamic population. In the UAE, taking as a reference, we are approximately 10 million people and 32% are under 25 years old. And if we take into consideration the whole region, the Middle East, which we are talking about approximately 386 million people, 65% of the population, they are under 30. High broadband penetration, especially on mobile phones. Most of the people, they have several devices, 2 or 3 smartphones. Considerable online shopper rate in the region, highest smartphone penetration, low mobile shopper ratio compared to a smartphone penetration, high credit card, very important that now everybody is buying stuff online, and high purchasing and income power. The GDP is $647.650 billion US dollar in 2020. Digital themes in the GCC are, and I will take you through, it's smart cities, classroom of the future that they call it in EduTech, education technology, future of mobility, a smart government, and a smart tourism. Tourism is a highly strategic sector in the region. The economy is trying to diversify, and the government is putting a lot of efforts to diversify the economy from a model of oil-dependent countries to an economic model more dependent on trade, on tourism, on innovation and technology. If we go in particular to the United Arab Emirates, the regulatory body, it's the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority, TRA, responsible for the regulation across the 7 Emirates that make the UAE country, and supporting the innovation in the ICT. And coming through data protection, as we said, there is no specific UAE-wide law that deals in absolute terms with data protection. Performance, UAE is accounting for 66% of the total startup investment and 26% of the deals. The UAE and Dubai in particular, they are creating and promoting and investing massive amounts of money in a startup ecosystem, mainly in technology. So they have several initiatives like Dubai Future Foundation, Area 2071, and different and several free trade zones like 2454 in Abu Dhabi, Dubai Studio City, Production City, Media Production Zone, Outsource City, Media City Free Zone in Sharjah, in the Emirates neighbor of Dubai, Media City, and a lot of trade, free trade zones to attract investment into the ICT industry. Internet mobile, the country broadband connectivity has grown exponentially in the last years, reaching 3 million subscribers on the last 2020, and active mobile connections in 2020, reaching almost 70 million, and we are 10 million of population. So you can have an idea with that numbers. The 5G technology, digital services, Etisalat, the main player, sign agreements to implement and deploy artificial intelligence and cloud managed solutions with the US tech giant Microsoft, and the second largest, announced partnership with international firms like Nokia and MediaTek to launch IoT services. So all those big players in the region, they are making partnerships with foreign companies to implement the latest technology and to bring into the country. Tech development, medium high tech projects account 43% of the FDI, contributing to 25,000 jobs and 24% of employment in 2019 into the country. And if you go to Saudi Arabia, it's the biggest IT market in the MENA region. The MENA region is the Middle East and North of Africa region, spending per year around $46 billion and creating a whole new cities based on technology, like Neon City, which is 170 kilometers city, where there's no cars, there's no streets, and everything is based on technology. So digital government, which is leading the path, as we said in the beginning, part of the Saudi Vision 2030, all government entities are mandated to provide their services digitally. So we are coming to a paperless society, a cashless society, a driverless cars. So creation of national digitization unit to support the vision of the government. And they have a digital maturity level. It's quite mature in general. Sometimes we have perceptions, wrong perceptions in Europe or Western country that this part of the world is not that advanced. But being being a European citizen and being in many countries in Europe and the United States, I must say that this part of the world, it's very mature and very advanced in technology. And in some aspect, even more advanced than many countries in Europe. So there is a digital economy, some giga projects like the one I was mentioning, Neon, but there is like a 10, like this one, approximately, Red Sea, Khadija, and Wat al-Shamal, that will be built leveraging the latest technology. Saudi Arabia wants to equip 5 existing cities with a smart infrastructure to be among the top 100 worldwide cities. There is a decrease in the subsidization of the government and an increase in the participation of the private companies and laborers, as well, doubling on technology to optimize operations. So before, the government was paying everything, was subsidizing everything, and now there are more participation and looking for the kind of partnership between the private and the public, what they call it PPP, public-private partnership. SMEs participate to around 20% of the Saudi's GDP, and government is prioritizing the increase of that number from 20 to 35. Create a digital society, so 100% of the population already, of course, covered by 2G, 3G, and 4G, almost 88%, and very soon 5G. In terms of how we interact with social media, and of course, the platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube, it's the consumption and the use of that technologies are massive. Just to put you another example, there are more views of YouTube videos in Saudi Arabia per capita than in the US. The e-commerce market, especially after the pandemic and within the pandemic, has growth massively, reaching 7.8 billion, of course, due to the restrictions of the mobility and the lockdowns, and 50% of the population shop online. In 2016, 4 or 5 years ago, but now we're reaching approximately 70% of the population, between 70 and 80% of the population shopping online. The way they were in the transaction, it was still a lot, and surprisingly, and compared to Europe, we use cash on delivery, even though most of the population, they have access to credit card and debit card and online payments, but still it's quite common and to use cash on delivery with the e-commerce platforms. And I would like to move to the targets for this year, in the next couple of years, new government entities and bodies, creating this cybersecurity authority, increase women participation by 50%. As you might know, 2 years ago, the women even cannot drive in Saudi Arabia, drive a car. They need drivers or any of the family male member to drive the car for them. Now the country is under a massive transformation, and they want to empower women. Enhance the modern trade and the e-commerce to 80% of the retail sector. Increase the digital technology as well to the non-oil GDP to become less dependent on oil and gas and petrochemical. Have the largest 5G mobile network in the world. These government entities, they are very and really ambitious in their plans and their strategy, And of course, they have the economic resources to make it happen. Create more than 25,000 quality jobs in the sector to become the first country to introduce an e-commerce law. That is already happened in 2019. Smart cars for expecting 30 million tourist pilgrims. As you know, it's one of the 5 pillars for each Muslim in the world to do the pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina and Saudi Arabia. It's part of the religious duties. So they will carry a smart cards with the identity, the medical records, and the contact info. All government to become paperless. Already 33 entities are 92% run by e-system. So there is no paper involved into most of the entities in Saudi Arabia and in the UAE as well. Growing the IT sector by 50% in 2023 while boosting the foreign direct investment. And the government, and that's something that you have to keep in mind, it's the main generator of the opportunities and leading the path and challenging the private sectors. And I would like to put you an example before to go into the opportunities with our company of audiovisual in Dubai, where I'm partner. So we have recently a meeting with the CEO of Dubai Taxi. And one of the technologies we're bringing is to establish stations to charge the electric cars wireless. So you don't need to bring your Tesla or any electric car and plug it with to the electricity and to use any pipe. Just you bring your car close to the station and you will charge your car the same way you charge your mobile. And we was in a meeting with the CEO. He told us this is the kind of technology, this is the kind of disruptive technology we want to bring. We want to be the #1, not only in the Middle East, but in the world. So they are really, really ambitious, and there is massive opportunities with them if you bring the right technology, innovation, and disruptive technologies. And some of them, there will be in 5G, in artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity, compliance and regulation, and e-sports and gaming, and cloud computing. Other technology with potential growth in the GCC is, of course, the IoT and the big data analytics, the user experience, blockchains, applying that technology to all the segments and the industry, especially in the banking and financial industry. Mobility, with mainly with autonomous vehicles, augmented and virtual reality, robotics, biometric, and all kind of biometric system and recognition software. Backed by growth, the UAE and Saudi Arabia, in terms of 5G, they are the first countries in the Arab world to launch the network. By 2023, 60 million of 5G smartphones will be operating in the GCC. Both Etisalat and Du, they are the leading telecommunication companies. Probably if you attend some of the exhibitions, technology exhibitions we have done in Dubai, like GITEX, and based on the conversations we maintain with Ms. Inga and Leah, I know that you are participating in some of your companies, or probably the companies attending this webinar, they're participating in GITEX. So they know those telecommunication giants in the region and how they are deploying their technology and bringing the newest technology to the country and to the region. And Saudi Zain, which is one of the main players, launched commercial 5G services into the kingdom, and they already cover the country with 5,200 5G based towers in 30 cities. Demand for 5G services is predicted to be strong over the next 5 years. There will be some tasting as well in Expo 2020. I guess Ms. Inga will explain in detail. And the GCC 5G services application to be especially demanding in mobility sector, factories of the future, healthcare, smart cities, data analytics, and LTE broadcast. Artificial intelligence, all the big players, international players, they are operating in the country by themselves or in partnership with local companies, Microsoft, Google, IBM, Intel, Qualcomm. And it's expected to accrue 1.6 of the total global benefits of the artificial intelligence in 2030, which is the equivalent to 278 billion US dollar. And in 2030, the UAE will account for 14% of the GDP. And in Saudi will be 12%, 12.4. So 4 years ago, well, 2021, 4 years ago, the UAE launched the artificial intelligence strategy. That's one of the things I was telling before, that they are quite advanced. It's not related to the COVID situation. Of course, the COVID situation, the pandemic speed up the process and boost all the technologies, but they are quite mature and quite advanced, and it's part of the strategy of the government, as you can see in some of the data for many years before. So Saudi Arabia launched the NEOM project in 2017, and with a massive amount of investment, accounting for 500 billion US dollar in a mega city. And that mega city will be powered by artificial intelligence, big data, autonomous vehicles, IoT, among others technologies. You have almost the most reputable companies in the world already established with branches in the Middle East, as the one mentioned that you can see on the graphic on the right. Cybersecurity is crucial. Still, this part of the world is very dependent on oil and gas, and the facilities are critical for this national security, and they must be protected. So the GCC is developing national strategy and introducing cybercrime and electronic transaction legislation. Cybersecurity expertise is also increasing in new university programs. There's already several universities with master degrees and several degrees in cybersecurity in the UAE to regulate more the data protection that we were discussing before. And cybersecurity professional, still there is a lack of skilled professionals, and only 35% of the UAE companies would be compliant with European data protection standards. So there is a lot of work to do yet. Given to the GCC economic model, cybersecurity threats, I was telling before, on the oil and gas sector are particularly concerning for the national government. So it's an industry that the government will put all the efforts, all the necessary efforts and investment to protect. Banking and financial services and insurance hold a major share. Gulf banks have invested millions of dollars in boosting cybersecurity system to combat attacks. And all the citizens that we are living here in the UAE, we are continuously receiving messages, emails, and SMS that we protect our accounts, and we need to be responsible for attacks and cyber attacks, and to use all the technology, because there is massive attacks and cyber crime in the banking system into the region. GCC cybersecurity focus on related solutions such network security and endpoint security, services like consulting and risk assessment. And I saw some of the Latvian companies doing IT consultant services. That can be a very good opportunity for you. And application into the banking system and telecommunications among others industries. And of course, again, the major players are already operating in the region for many years: Cisco, Dell, Kaspersky, IBM, and others. There is a growing demand, and one of the subsectors, which is a lot of opportunities for growth, which is the gaming and the esports. The gaming market has followed the rapid expansion, expected to reach this year 821 million. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and especially the UAE, becoming the regional hub for gaming and e-gaming. And there is the Saudi Arabian Federation of Electronic and Intellectual Sports, which is a new authority and general sport authority, developing new plans to expand e-sports ecosystem, which can represent a very good opportunities for Latvian companies in that industry, and that part of the industry, which is the e-sports and gaming. Creating and building new venues, such as a Challenge Arena and Clicks Gaming launch in Saudi Arabia, as well as another venue planned for the UAE called Dubai X Stadium. Brands including Intel, Microsoft, Sony, PlayStation are focusing on the Saudi market. On March this year, I will personally be involved in a trade mission to Saudi Arabia with some of the largest architects in Europe, some of the biggest architects in Europe, and doing some of the largest projects in gaming to explore the potential and to present some opportunities to the Saudi government. So, because we know that there is a big demand and there is a lot of opportunities. Game publishers like Ubisoft, Middle East, Bandai Namco, or Blizzard are localizing their content for Arab audience. Before it was only in English, or in several countries, Japanese, English, Spanish, French, but not in Arabic. And now they are translated all the content for Arab audience and put it in Arabic. And they are going to create even new free zones. We already have more than 35 free zones in the UAE from several industries. Almost for each industry, you can find a free zones, but they are going to create a new one dedicated for gaming. Cloud computer represent a lot of opportunities as well. The GCC public cloud market is expected to double the value in 3 years. The enterprise spending on information technology has remained subdued. Submarkets within the sector has witnessed a strong growth, mainly the SaaS, but the PaaS and the IaaS as well, particularly highlighted here. But SaaS is leading the path in the terms of software as a service, is the main one growing. IDC survey in the end of 2020 showed that 53% of the CIOs in the region are aiming to accelerate their existing digital transformation. And they will need foreign companies, and they will need companies that the ones you have in Latvia to help them with the digital transformation. So representing an opportunity for you. Saudi Arabia spent the highest on enterprise IT in the GCC, followed by the UAE. And there is a forecast to create between this year and next year, 32,000 jobs. Health tech, yesterday we were participating in a webinar about healthcare. And healthcare is booming in general. And of course, the technology is taking a main role into the healthcare industry. The MENA region, the Middle East and North of Africa region, predominantly driven by GCC markets and the national health budgets, double from 40 billion in 2015 to 71 billion in 2020, in just 5 years. And the 10 concerns and the top ones, they are virtual and mobile health services, national e-health system, implemented mainly by the government, online preventive health, and all kind of tech innovation for the healthcare industry. Investments required to deliver such large scale and complex transformation initiatives are significant. Saudi Arabia National Transformation Plan earmarked almost 1.6 billion in investment in what they call it Next Generation Care Initiative. And the UAE Innovation Strategy requires government to set apart 1% of the budget only for innovation, with healthcare representing 8.6% of the national budget, investing mainly in research and development. And the top opportunities for the healthcare technology is the infrastructure, ICT, the national e-health system, to build and expand national systems that still are in infancy, solution for system interoperability between health players. It's also needed. Blockchain applied to healthcare industry, virtual and mobile health solutions. There is a lot of application coming up within the healthcare industry, and precision health analytics. Digitization mainly of the patient data is creating a massive new market for data analytics services such as diagnosis, predictive disease analytics, the use of artificial intelligence, and cognitive assistance. Mobility, connected autonomous transportation, connected transport infrastructure, and shared transportation. The UAE invested 91 million to build Dubai new EC3 mobility center, and Saudi Arabia earmarked 140 billion on mobility optimization over the next 10 years. It's going to be the largest share in report to be on traffic management and public transportation. Dubai targets 30% of all mobilities to be driverless in 2030, including what you probably heard on the news of you visited Dubai, or if you visited GITEX, the flying taxis. So some of the technologies that people call future are present already in the UAE. The UAE has operating driverless metro system more than 12 years ago. The GCC will expand by 2021 this year with a strengthened regulation standards that could drive automakers to manufacture nearly 3 million cars in the region. And one important detail is that Dubai Taxi, for example, has the biggest fleet of Tesla cars in the whole world. Only the Netherlands is competing with Dubai in the whole world. Dubai RTA partnered with Volocopter for the mentioned flying taxi tech, and Tesla with the self-driving electric vehicles with Hyperloop One. Our company is now under negotiation with Tesla to get the approval of the wireless charging station for Dubai Taxi. If we get the approval from Tesla, we will implement it this year, 2021, in partnership with Dubai Taxi. So the top opportunities is the next generation of IoT, integrated transport systems, connected autonomous vehicles, big data and artificial intelligence powered by predictive analytics, new pricing, funding, and payment solutions as well. Those that they are working in payments, they can see that there are a lot of opportunities as well with the e-commerce platforms. There is so many things to improve, and they are open to receive foreign companies to improve the payment systems. So you can find an opportunity over there as well. Smart cities, Dubai 42 in the global ranking, Abu Dhabi 43 and Riyadh 53 in the smart city rankings, the highest in the GCC countries. And the government have introduced several digital initiatives along with the 6 smart city pillars: economy, implementing Dubai blockchain in the case of the UAE, mobility with Masdar City, which is on a the biggest smart city that we have right now in the UAE, environment through the government, Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, living with the UAE telecom players like Du and Etisalat, Yambul, security, Dubai Police and Mombra, and education with, they are making new partnership with some of the players. Let me take you to the next one. Opportunities, IoT devices, digital city planning, platform of platforms, integrated big data analytics and smart security, smart materials. When we come to technology, the region is looking for the most innovative material, doing research and partnership with some universities as well. There is demand for smart mining, demand for AI-based autonomous security technologies, smart tech for, of course, including the 5G and control center and data centers and sensors and application and digital-based services, building information, modeling, software, drones, virtual and augmented reality applications, 3D printing. The first office built in 3D was in the world was built in Dubai. And big data, smart meters, grid, solar panel, to use more efficiently energy and use more renewable energy. ADNOC, which is Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, and Abu Dhabi Education Council team with the New York University of Abu Dhabi to develop a new laboratory of petrochemics research with aim to solve issues related to complex chemical components from heavy oil fractions. The Museum of the Future that was inaugurated last year in Dubai. The building is it's made with significant elements printed in 3D. DP World, which is the main authority for the ports in Dubai, make a partnership. It will be participating in Dubai Expo. All the Latvian companies coming to Expo 2020, they will have the opportunity to see one of the largest augmented and virtual reality show in real time. NEOM project, already mentioned, in Saudi Arabia, 170 kilometers length, that will preserve 95% of the nature with zero cars, zero streets, and zero carbon emissions. They have a very ambitious renewable energy sector that will lead to the creation of 750,000 jobs over the next 10 years. Photonics and biotech, something very important, and where Latvia has a great interest in GCC for photonics, sensor application for water, biological and environmentally sensing, chemical agent, and biological threat detection. Semiconductor industry, you can find tiny silicon photonic chips and nanoscale devices, smaller than a human hair, that use light signal, lasers to chemical, heat, radiation, and pressure. Abu Dhabi in particular has a very ambitious plan for 2030. And the government is willing to improve air quality, monitor greenhouse gases, ozone, and particulates near power and manufacturing plants. The Masdar Institute, which is part of Masdar City and part of the government of Abu Dhabi, is developing the next generation of lasers based on glass material that can be fabricated at low temperatures onto electronics and detector arrays, combining all the photonic components on a single chip. And in biotech, despite substantial investment in healthcare, biomedical education, and R&D facilities, the GCC countries still face challenges in building an impactful and sustainable biotechnology sector. So there is a lot of opportunities for biotechnology companies that they want to come over to the UAE and to the Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, and Qatar to develop the biotechnology industry, and trying to do a partnership or joint venture with the own government. Gcc software as a service, as I was previously mentioning, is expected to grow 956 USD million in 2020 last year, and 2.35 billion in the next 3 years, with a year-over-year growth of 25%. And only SaaS will grow by 24% this year. Which are the key growth drivers? The increased government initiative on ICT spending, the digital transformation of the whole region of the GCC, adoption of cloud computing due to CRM, ERP, and BI software, IoT, AI, IT infrastructure, shifting towards SaaS due to reduced total cost of service, and to increase the ROI, the security, and the availability. Some of the examples are the digital invoicing. Now, when you issue an invoice, it's through a digital invoicing program, the implementation of the already discussed 5G, the UAE government, quantum computing, blockchain, AI policies, Vision 2030 that includes all that kind of technologies, the national transformation plans for the ICT industry, Oman, Bahrain Program 2030, and Qatar 2020 e-government program. FinTech, which is quite demanding and booming, especially in the last 2-3 years. On the right side in the graphic, you can see, or the picture, you can see the leading FinTech startups in the UAE. Souq Al Mal, Jala Compare, Baysat, Beehive. There is some of the startups that they are leading the path into the FinTech. Spending across the banking, financial services, and energy verticals accounts already for 43% of the overall ICT spend. GCC payment industries to leapfrog other major economies in 2021. Growth drivers, the digital transactions. Before, even some of the e-commerce platforms, they were only using cash on delivery. Now, most of the transactions are digital. And this is quite recent, that happened the last couple of years to reach the 85%. 47% of the buyers more likely to shop online and pay digitally, increasing e-commerce players and digital providers in the region. There is some initiative done by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UAE, which is Saudi Arabia FinTech, Saudi Online Payment, Dubai HSA Cyber Threat Intelligence Platform, recently created, Dubai Industrial Financial Center, International Financial Center, sorry, FinTech Hive, and First Abu Dhabi Bank, it's one of the biggest banks here, paid wallet, or using a platform called TEL or Buna. Education, smart education system, online platform, and ICT content focus. I will try to speed up the industry. It's massive. So unfortunately, we will not have enough time to go in details, but I will try to summarize as much as I can. And after, you will have a copy of this presentation if you want to go deeper. So in Saudi Arabia, the government has partnered with edX to deliver through Dorop. Dorop, it's a platform for Arabic speakers in the world. It's an initiative that already launched 1,600 courses, and it's powered and backed by Google. And there is a complete smart learning programs, government spending on initiatives to deliver classroom of the future with 272 investment over the period of 5 years, and in Saudi Arabia, almost double in the next 4 years. Some of the opportunities, ICT infrastructure for education, implementing smart education systems, digitization of the curriculum, and ICT focus, augmenting virtual reality experiences. They're already, this year in 2021, they are going to launch in Abu Dhabi the first school with no professors. So no textbooks, everything physical textbooks, everything will be online, everything will be powered by artificial intelligence. So the schools, as we used to know, in some cases, they are going to disappear. And artificial intelligence powered by data analytics. Some of the success factors to penetrate this market, to identify which market you want to build your presence. The GCC is 6 countries, but if you take into consideration the Middle East or the Arab world, you have more than 20 countries, and you have to identify which one it's more fit more into your strategy and into the kind of technology you are producing or the kind of services you are offering. So it's convenience to make a careful market research to understand the market before to come over and to invest in this market. Keep in mind economies of scales with large distribution network and infrastructure, and have enough investment capital to bear infrastructure in case you need it, R&D, fixed and variable costs. So there is wonderful projects, and I saw on my career, amazing startups, but they don't have enough capital. They don't have enough resources. They didn't study properly this region. So, and they didn't succeed because of the lack of knowledge and investment. And it's a pity, because some of their products or some of the services, they were really amazing, and they will have a lot of potential in this part of the world if they have the right strategy, the right knowledge, the right partner in some cases, and enough capital. To choose which kind of business model, because according to the business model, you will need a license or another. So what model you want to follow? Operate, or to make a joint venture, to establish your company here locally to get access to the tenders that we were discussing in the beginning of the presentation, or to make a partnership with local companies to access to those big opportunities that the governments are generating. And of course, what is your unique selling point? What is your unique selling proposition? You have to stand out from the crowd, and to make differentiation, it's something which is crucial and essential. As we were discussing during this presentation, the market is quite mature. They are bringing the latest technology for all over the world into this part of the world, into the UAE and Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, into the Gulf region. So there are opportunities, but you need to stand out from the crowd. You cannot bring the same as other players, because there are bigger companies probably, or bigger players, or multinational, that have massive resources, and it's going to be difficult to compete against them. So you need to bring your point of differentiation. If you bring disruptive technology, if you have innovation, this is the place for you. Some case studies in terms of industries, just to put you on some examples, we'll go quickly. Logistic warehouse, MBC Global and Cox Logistic, they created a massive company in Bahrain. They created Smart Hub logistic warehouse. In terms of mobility, Dubai Police already are using driverless mini police cars. And of course, all kind of gadgets and technology to detect, track any unusual activity, objects, people, suspect, unknown criminals. Autonomous transportation, the driverless electric cars and pods, door-to-door mode of transportation, flying taxis, and using sharing transportation application. For example, I'm not sure about Latvia, but in Spain, for example, or other countries I know more in Europe, you cannot ask for a private jet with your application, or from a helicopter to come to pick you up in your house. Here in Dubai, you can do it. So next generation in care, in healthcare, and health apps, remote monitoring, ingestible data generating IoT sensor, holographic and robotic assistant surgery. Smart cities with Abu Dhabi and Dubai leading the path with the Smart Dubai and Abu Dhabi plans. Fintech, peer-to-peer payment platforms. There's one called MamoPay. Now money is a tech-based banking remittances solutions. Have to keep in mind that 85% of the population in the UAE are expats, and they are continuously sending money to their home countries. Jala Compare, so in payment banking, Arabian chains, in blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And in terms of retail, some of the physical malls are transforming their brick and mortar malls into virtual malls using platforms, e-commerce platforms like Noon. ICT, UAE cybersecurity services. We have one called Digital 14 and network security provider Fortinet, and in healthcare, emerging genetic pharma. There is a company called Jamjun Pharmaceuticals and Smart Med. Case studies, already mentioned it in the previous slide. Changing Dubai Mall, which is the largest mall, retail mall in the world. Now they have the virtual version. It's the same owners of Dubai Mall, MR Enterprises, using a platform called Noon.com. Noon, it's a very big competitor for companies like Amazon, but locally. In terms of warehouses, Smart Hub integrate blockchain with serialized track and trace, IoT sensors, and a smart pass with smart contracts for compliance and government clearance, and fintech as well. The MamoPay, one of the payment solutions, the micropayments used in the region. And Smart Med, the first of its kind home healthcare services provider with focus on improving primary healthcare system into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, using portable X-ray machines, ultrasounds, ECG, that you can do it at home. I will go quickly about the GCC business culture. We are in another part of the world, totally different, that our traditions, our culture, on the way we do business in Europe. And here it's very important to build a solid personal relationships, long-term relationships, build trust. This is something that takes time, but it's crucial and it's very important. The Arabs, they are very open to do business with foreigners. They are used to do it, but to build trust and to trust your company, to trust you as a person, to trust the services you are offering, it will take some time. So it's very important to build that personal relationship with your counterpart until you get their trust and they trust you and they start doing business with you. Be flexible and adaptable to the market. The market has its particularities, and sometimes the kind of regulations that we have in Europe doesn't apply here. So it's important that we are flexible and we have the capacity to adapt our services and our products to the local market. Be patient, because decision-making process here takes time. We are used in Europe to send an email and somebody will reply next day, in the next 48 hours. Here you can send an email and probably nobody will reply to you in 1 week, or you call and nobody pick up the phone. So don't be scared. It's part of the culture sometimes, not always. So you need to be patient and have a strategy in a medium long term. So don't think in a short term, because as I said, doing business here, you can do massive business. I built my business, my companies, and my entire career in the Middle East. And I'm very grateful to this part of the world. And believe me, you can do very good business, but it will take time. So have a medium long-term thinking. Don't judge by appearance. The people get surprised or impressed when they come to Dubai and see all the towers and all the fancy stuff. But you have to look deeper. Sometimes you can find an amazing partner. It's outside the glamorous building towers of the city, but they have, probably you are talking to one of the biggest families or more influential families in the UAE. So don't judge appearances. Be careful when select the local partners. Do your own due diligence. Take support for institutions like LIA or local lawyers to guide you, to protect your interest before to enter into any kind of partnership. Be respectful. Keep in mind, we are in a Muslim world and a different culture, and they have their own traditions, their own way of thinking. So we need to be respectful when we are here. And the most crucial, follow-up. When you start any conversation, when you start any negotiation, even if you see that nobody replies your email or pick up your phone, keep going continuously, constantly, and as much personal as possible, and you will get it done. Thank you so much for attending this webinar, and I give back the word to Ms. Inga.
Thank you, Jose. It was really interesting things that you told. Actually, I didn't know that there's nowhere else where you can actually be picked up by the helicopter, that it's only here. But I mean, it is true, and it's interesting. I think last year in the GITEX exhibition, all the IT companies were very surprised that outside of the World Trade Center, where all the exhibitions are taking part, there were Teslas only, and you know, those fancy Teslas with the wing type of doors opened, and basically that was the only taxis that were available for the participants during the GITEX. So I guess for the next GITEX, we're hoping for helicopters being parked outside the exhibition and bringing exhibitors back to their hotels. That would be that would be amazing.
Only in Dubai. Only in Dubai.
Absolutely. So we do have few questions. As I told you before, to be honest, my dear Latvian IT companies, I already warned Jose that our IT companies are the most educated and most active about the market. So I am 100% sure that there will be questions, and starting from very specific ones to broader ones. So I'm very glad to see that we have received questions. So the first one is thanks. Thanks to you, Jose, from Mr. Yanis. Are there any regulations that should be passed for electronic devices, RFI emissions, environmental standards that we should take into an account while preparing for such device exports to GCC?
If you have a European Union certification, it will apply the same to the GCC. So most probably you can use the same kind of certification. It will be valid into the UAE. We have an organization called ESMA, Emirates Standardization and Metric, that they will of course test your devices to check if they are they fit and they have all they pass all the regulations, the certifications are approved by the government, the local government. But if you have as I said, if you have the European certification, you will not need more than that.
All right, and then we have the next question. Could you please comment what from your experience are the best methods to approach local partners, build credibility, and to find great local system integrators who are powerful in government tenders?
Well, if you want to operate, I was saying that there is only two ways to access to the big projects of the government, is to establish yourself here or to make a local, so a partnership with a local company. And to approach them, it's important, in my opinion, to share the same values or have bigger picture in mind. Choose a partner who is going to be complementary to the offer they already have. So most of the local companies, they want to cover as much technologies as they can, because there is so many tenders and different verticals and different government entities, from Dubai Police to the telecommunication, Dubai Municipality, DIWA, Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. And most of the companies, they cannot cover all the technology. So if you have in your company any kind of technology or services that you offer that can be complementary to the local company, you can go directly to them and they will be very open to discuss with you. And to check the track record of the local company, what they are doing, study the local company based in Dubai and see what kind of services or technology you can add to their existing offer.
All right, we have a few more. Thank you for the detailed presentation. Are there any local organizations or platforms for identifying a fitting partner and make initial contact?
Well, in this case, probably LIA or private companies like us that we help companies to enter into the market. And of course, you can use some of the local ones like Dubai Chamber of Commerce, that they organize many trade mission, delegations, webinars, and many events for companies that they want to approach to the market.
I think I would comment on that as well, that we have, you know, in Europe, we have used to have those databases, or as I call them, yellow pages, where you can easily find quite updated and valid information about the companies that are actual. But in the UAE, apparently first you have to remember that there are companies that are registered in the free zones, and then there are companies who are registered in the mainland. So it's way easier to find like legit information, credible information about the mainland companies. The companies in the free zone, you have to research some more. And also a lot of times you will find some yellow pages or some databases, but I would say 95% of the time the information is old and out of date and not really I would say not really practical. So also in the UAE and Middle East as such, you have to do your research way deeper and more complex than we have used to do that in the West.
Yeah, and I would like to add something, that even if you have information online, it's not going to be the same if you have somebody can personally introduce you, or if you are coming from any reputable institution or professional or company.
Absolutely. It's all about trust in the Middle East and the right contacts. And the next question is, how do local companies choose cloud data center services?
Location is one of them. Power and cooling. Some of them, they are outside in very hot areas. Security and facility access. SLAs, we work with some of them, and the SLA says that we need to respond in less than 2 hours, no matter where in the country they are. If they have any problem, in less than 2 hours, we have to solve the problem. So SLA Obtain compliance and certification are very important for them. Technical support, services, monitoring, scalability, and of course, as always, the latest innovation.
Okay, and then we have one more quite specific question in the chat box. Is there any grant competitions in the UAE for SaaS, AR, AEC startups?
A lot. There is a lot of competition for SaaS, for IoT, from all over the world. You have to be honest, in what I saw in this part of the world, I never seen in my life in any country. I was traveling in Canada, seeing some companies in Canada. I didn't see that in Canada, that kind of investments. So the government is supporting and is funding a lot of startups and creating ecosystems of startups, creating free trade zones for ICT companies. You cannot find this in any other part of the world. So that's one of the reasons to attract companies from all those kind of technologies from over the world. The competition, it's massive. And they are.
Yeah, I could actually add regarding competitions. We, the Latvian Investment and Development Agency, we do have an agreement with the Dubai Future Foundation, which is managing the Dubai Government Accelerator. We do have an agreement that whenever they do have a cohort or a challenge, the Latvian companies would have, they have they say the golden ticket, which means that basically the Latvian companies are immediately into the second stage of the competition within the challenge. So basically you go directly already to the phone interview. And we have had some great success stories in the Dubai Future Foundation, especially with the, well, basically I would say mainly with the ICT companies. I will not be able at the moment to describe more into niche if any of the challenges have been related to SaaS. We have to look deeper, but mostly it is about the digitalization, innovations within the government services, within the infrastructure. And they are all related to telecommunications, to utilities, utility management, to services, basically public services to people, how to optimize them, to process optimization as such, to education, healthcare, cybersecurity, road and transport management. So basically the scope where they are looking for innovations and where these like accelerators and projects are offered, especially for the startups, are a lot and in a very wide range. You should really just follow the information on Leah's newsletter or on my LinkedIn, where I usually post all the options or opportunities that are there for the companies. And just in case of any questions, yeah, let me know. And there will be one more I will be telling you later in Latvian about, especially opportunity for the startups when it comes to Expo, but we will come to that. So it seems we do not have any more questions, and I would say it's in this case it's a good thing because we are slowly running out of time. So Jose, thank you so much for your presentation, and as Jose mentioned, we will be sending out the presentation to the companies participating in the webinar, and the recording of this webinar will be as well available. So in case you didn't manage to notice some information that Mr. Jose was telling about, or his details, contact details, they all will be there on the presentation on the recording.
Thank you so much, and I hope to see very soon more IT Latvian companies doing successful business into the region. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jose, and I'm switching back to Latvian. Uzņēmēji, super, paldies jums par jautājumiem. Ja jums gadījumā ir vēl kāds jautājums, dodiet ziņu, bet laika ir tik, cik mums ir, un tādēļ mēs turpināsim ar prezentāciju par Expo. Kamēr es neesmu aizmirsusi, tas ir tas, ko es pieminēju saistībā ar Expo tieši startupiem pieejamo iespēju. Aši ieskicēšu, un pēc tam tālāk informācija jau būs detalizētāk vēlāk pieejama publiski. Expo ietvaros ir organizēts tāds projekts, saucās Scale to Dubai, kur mēs arī šobrīd esam sadarbības izveidošanas procesā ar Expo atbildīgajām personām. Doma ir sekojoša, ka tad, kad Expo beigsies, mēs atkal skatāmies ilgtermiņā un būvējam tai mājā tos ķieģeļus liekam laicīgi. Tātad šajā teritorijā pēc Expo beigām tiks izveidota tāda kā komūna, ja tā varētu teikt, kā reiz, kas atbalstīs startupus un mazos vidējos uzņēmumus. Un tieši kā reiz ar fokusu uz inovācijām, tehnoloģijām, visiem trendīgajiem vārdiem. Visi jau zina, kā es tie, kas IT uzņēmumi ir bijuši. Es vienmēr smējos, ka viņu gadījumā, arābu gadījumā šie te trendīgie vārdi pārdodas vislabāk. Tātad būs pieejama šī teritorija tieši startup un SMI uzņēmumiem. Un tā doma ir sekojoša, ka šogad līdz jūlijam būs jāpiesakās, lai jūs tiktu starp pirmajiem 250-300 uzņēmumiem, kas varēs šajā teritorijā gan reģistrēt uzņēmumus bez maksas, jo, diemžēl šeit reģistrācija ir samērā dārga uzņēmumu, kas nozīmē uzreiz arī darbinieku vīzas apdrošināšanas. Arī tas tur būs iekļauts, tiks tā kā finansēts projekti ietvaros, jums būs pieejams birojs tur, arī par viņu finansējumu. Un, principā, viss šī ekosistēma, kas tiks veidot šajā rajonā, tiks piedāvāta iemītniekiem. Par to mēs plānojam organizēt atsevišķu webināru februāra mēnesī. Tā pieteikšanās būs līdz jūlijam, tā kā neko nebūsiet nokvējuši, bet atzīšos, ka mana tāda slēptā vēlme ir, ka vismaz, tāds, neteikšu ciparu, bet ka tāds labs Latvijas uzņēmumu cipars varētu tikt tajā pirmajā atlasē, jo tipiski arābiem parasti ir sākumā ieskrieties, jo viņiem ir jāpierāda, ka tā viņu ideja strādā. Tādēļ es pieņemu, ka tie uzņēmumi, kas būs šajā te pirmajā iesaukumā ap 250-300 uzņēmumiem, droši vien, ka tiks apčubināti vairāk nekā pēc tam citi nākamā soļa uzņēmēji. Bet mēs turpinām tālāk par Expo. Tātad, kā jau ziniet, mēs esam apstiprinājuši dalību Expo 2020. Arī Latvija būs ar savu paviljonu. Tie, kas varbūt ir sekojuši vēsturiski mūsu dalībai Expo 2020, droši vien, ka zina, ka mums nebūs pašu būvēts paviljons, mums būs īrēts paviljons. Agnese, varbūt es tev varu palūgt uzlikt šo te prezentāciju. Gribēju jums parādīt kopējai, kā izskatās šī te Expo teritorija, lai jums varbūt rodās tāds mazs praktiskāks jau skatījums uz to, kā tiks organizēta darbība. Protams, Expo šis Expo daudzajādā ziņā tiek reklamēts, jeb komunicēts kā viens no unikālajiem Expo, kas būs vēsturē bijis, jo ir plānots, ka piedalās vairākās 190 pasaules valstis, tātad visvairāk dalībnieku valstu ziņā, kas jebkad ir bijuši. Protams, arī apmeklētāju skaits ir plānots ļoti liels, tie ir plānoti vismaz 25 miljoni apmeklētāju. Mēs, protams, esam reāli, jo gan jau, ka Covid joprojām uzliks kaut kādus savus ierobežojumus, un tas arī viens no iemesliem, kādēļ šajā webinārā mēs vairāk fokusējamies uz arābu tirgu, uz Tuviem Austrumiem un kaimiņu valstīm, jo visticamāk šiem apmeklētājiem būs visvieglāk atbraukt, tādēļ strādājam ar to, kas arī potenciāli varētu būt lielākais apmeklētāju skaits. Tad jūs redzat šai te bildē, ka tā vidējā, tā apaļā ēka, kas ir pašā centrā ar blakām, tur nosaukums ir Al-Vasl, šī te centrālā ēka, kurā tad notiks visi lielie pasākumi, pieņemšanas, un kas ir labā ziņa, ka mēs atrodamies principā kājām gājienā turpat blakām, tur, kur redziet Latvijas paviljonu telpas, tad telpas, kuras mēs īrēsim, un mēs atrodamies iespēju rajonā. Viss Expo, šis te lielais rajons, ja visa teritorija tiek iedalīta tā kā 3 apakštematikās. Viens ir mobilitāte, ilgtspēja un iespējas. Mēs esam iespēju rajonā. Esam ļoti tuvu arī galvenajai metro stacijai, kur redzams Route 2020 station. Tā kā es domāju, ka vieta mums tādā ziņā no visas lielās kopējās loģistikas ir ļoti izdevīga. Un, kā redzat, šis te kopējais koncepts ir ļoti iespaidīgs, ļoti apjomīgs, tā kā būs mums jāpacīnās arī par uzmanību visā šajā lielajā pasākumā. Tad tālāk pastāstot mazliet vairāk par mūsu īrētajām telpām. Šeit jūs redzat mūsu ēku, kāda tā izskatās šobrīd. Tā vēl nav pabeigta stadija, tātad ēka ir vēl procesā. Vakardien kā reiz arī beidzās termiņš iesniegšanai meta konkursam par paviljona dizainu un stāsta izveidi. Tā kā ceram tuvākajā laikā arī vairāk saprast un detalizēt, kas mums būs šajā te pirmajā stāvā, kur mēs esam plānojuši kā nemainīgo ekspozīciju vispārīgajai auditorijai, jo, protams, uz Expo dodas ne tikai uzņēmēji, bet arī ģimenes un turisti. Tātad šajā pirmajā stāvā, tātad mēs no šīs ēkas, lai būtu precīzāk, mēs īrēsim 1. un 3. stāvu un pusi no šiem stāviem. Tātad pirmajā stāvā mums būs šī nemainīgā ekspozīcija, kas būs vispārīgai auditorijai, savukārt 3. stāvā, no kura jūs šajā te bildē redzat terasi, to mēs saucam par biznesa stāvu, un tas būs veltīts tikai un vienīgi mūsu uzņēmējiem. Un, kā man patīk viņu saukt tiešām par jūsu mājām, es gribētu, lai jūs to arī uztverat kā tādu kā savu vietu visā šajā te Expo 6 mēnešu periodā. Un šajā stāvā jums būs pieejamas 2 privātās tikšanās telpas, ne kā biroja, bet tiešām, ja jums gadījumā būs, nezinu, kādas privātas sarunas ar esošiem vai potenciāliem partneriem vai varbūt piegādātājiem, tad šīs būs šīs 2 telpas, kuras jūs varēsiet izmantot privātām sarunām un tikšanās reizēm. Tad papildus blakus ir 120 kvadrātmetru liela telpa, kas ir plānota šai te mainīgajai ekspozīcijai, kas tad attiecīgi mainīsies atkarībā no aktuālās industrijas un pasākumiem gan mūsu biznesa programmā, gan Expo teritorijā. Ko es ar to domāju? Pieminēju jau pašā sākumā šo te Gcc izstādi. Protams, ka mēs plānojam atkal tajā piedalīties ar nacionālo paviljonu, jo tā ir sev pierādījusi kā ļoti efektīvu. Tad šajā te laikā, principā, tas mūsu plāns ir šajā 3. biznesa stāvā koncentrēties tikai un vienīgi uz IT industriju. Protams, neatraidīsim arī citus, bet ar to domu, ka tie produkti un risinājumi, kas tiks pārsvarā izstādīti, piemēram, šajā te Gcc nedēļā un nedēļu pēc, tad viņi būs fokusā šajā te 3. stāvā. Un tad šajās te 120 kvadrātmetru lielajā telpā, tad tur mēs varēsim organizēt gan biznesa fórumus, gan tikšanās B2B, gan tirzniecības misijas un kā savādāk. Un terasa, protams, arī būs pieejama uzņēmējiem vai nu pasākumiem, vai vienkārši atpūtas brīžiem. Es aicināšu savu kolēģi Filipu pastāstīt jums mazliet par virtuālajām un neklātienes iespējām, jo tā doma ir tāda, ka mēs dalīsim šīs te aktivitātes, ja iespējas uzņēmējiem iesaistīties 2 blokos. Viens ir neklātienē, kur ir jau pieejama aplikācija, par kuru pastāstīs Filips vairāk, ar to domu, ka jūs iespējams ne visi plānojat braukt uz apvienotiem Arābu Emirātiem, ne visi var arī aizbraukt, un iespējams, ka varbūt Tuvie Austrumi īsti nav jūsu mērķa tirgus dotajā brīdī vai kopumā vispār jūsu produktam vai risinājumam. Un jāatceras noteikti ir, ka Expo tomēr ir globāls pasākums, kur tiek aptverti visi pasaules nostūri. Līdz ar to šīs te virtuālās, ja neklātienes online aktivitātes un iespējas noteikti ir veids, kā jūs varat sasniegt arī savus potenciālos esošos vai kā citādi sadarbības partnerus citur pasaulē. Filip, aicināšu tevi pastāstīt vairāk par šīm iespējām.
Jā, paldies, Inga, paldies, un esiet sveicināti cienījamie skatītāji šajā dienā, un pavisam tiešām īsi vēlos jums līdzdalīt vairāk par tām aktivitātēm tieši saistē, ko piedāvā Expo, un tādā veidā jūs jau faktiski tagad varat sākt gatavoties un reģistrēties Expo gan mājaslapā, gan arī tālāk jau sekot līdzi citiem Expo pasākumiem, kas norisināsies gan laikā līdz Expo, gan arī, protams, Expo ietvaros. Tātad Expo B2B platformā, kur tiešām jūs varat dibināt jau kontaktus, meklēt potenciālos sadarbības partnerus, un tādā veidā jūs ietaupat gan savu laiku, gan arī dodat iespēju un izmantot iespēju piedalīties Expo 20 tiešsaistē. Būtībā B2B šī platforma dod iespēju ērti piekļūt gan svarīgākajiem Expo notikumiem, dibināt kontaktus ar biznesa mērķa auditoriju jau pirms pasākuma. Tā kā faktiski atliek jums tikai reģistrēties, aktivizēt savu profilu, izklāstīt, izveidot savu uzņēmumu profili un tālāk jau sekot līdzi un meklēt sadarbības partnerus. Tātad Expo mājaslapā jūs reģistrējaties, aizpildat informāciju par sevi, tālāk jau arī aizpildat informāciju par pašu uzņēmumu. Tātad to jūs varat izdarīt Expo mājaslapā, un šeit prezentācijā arī ir links uz instrukciju, kur jau diezgan detalizēti ir izklāstīts, kādas iespējas piedāvā šī platforma. Pēc šī visa vēlos arī vēl akcentēt un izstāstīt to, ka, ja darīt zināmu, ka arī mēs LIJā no savas puses nodrošināsim iespēju Expo un līdz Expo ietvariem organizēt divpusējās tikšanās ar citiem uzņēmējiem. Mēs arī plānojam atvēlēt Expo mājaslapā, kas ir Latvijas paviljona Expo mājaslapā, izvietot to Latvijas uzņēmumu profilus, kas tiešām vēlas aktīvāk iesaistīties tieši Expo aktivitātēs. Līdz ar to šī informācija noteikti sekos, un arī nedaudz vēlāk gan Inga, gan arī Agnija līdzdalīs par šo aptaujas anketu, caur kuru tiešām mēs vēlamies uzzināt jau detalizētāk par jūsu interesēm, kādā veidā jūs vēlaties iesaistīties Expo. Paldies!
Super, paldies tev, Filipa, par informāciju. Tiešām aicinu izmantot šo te neklātienes iespēju. Bet, protams, kā jau arī konsultants minēja, tad arābu tirgu un arī par ko pārliecinājās, par ko man vienmēr ir prieks, kādēļ tiešām ir vienmēr vērts ir atbraukt. Es zinu, ka tirgus ir tāls un dažkārt šīs izmaksas, kas ir saistītas gan ar atbraukšanu, gan dzīvošanu, ir ietilpīgs, bet ja šis ir viens no šiem te jūsu potenciālākajiem tirgiem un mērķu tirgiem jūsu produktiem un risinājumiem, tad tas, diemžēl, ir nepieciešams. Un man ir vienmēr prieks redzēt tos uzņēmēju brīžus, kad viņi saprot, kas tad šeit ir tas komunikācijas vai potenciālo klientu uzrunāšanas veids, jo viens, protams, ir tas, ka es cenšos pastāstīt šo te kultūru un translēt jums, bet otrs ir piedzīvot to pašam savām acīm un saviem pieredzes stāstiem. Un šī te klātienes komunikācija visnotaļ ir daudz produktīvāka. Un tieši šī iemesla dēļ mēs esam sākuši to darbu un apzināt uzņēmējus jau tagad, kā jau es sākumā minēju. Tas mūsu slēptais mērķis, protams, ir sākt strādāt ar uzņēmējiem, kas tiešām ir sevi izvērtējuši, balstoties uz šīs informācijas gan saistībā ar prasībām, gan tendencēm, gan barjerām. ko šodien dzirdējāt tirgus apskatā, un tiešām saprotat, ka tā ir tā vieta, kur jums ir jābūt. Un tad tālāk mums tas mērķis, protams, ar jums ir sākt strādāt jau, lai tad, kad ir Expo, tad iespējams tās sarunas ar potenciāliem partneriem varētu būt ne gluži pirmās vai tādas pieklājīgās iepazīšanās sarunas, bet ar cerību, ka tās jau varētu būt 2., 3., 4. sarunas un varbūt pat līguma slēgšanas, lai, protams, šis Expo mums visiem būtu rezultatīvs un produktīvs. Un tieši tādēļ, lai mēs arī vairāk saprastu, kas tad ir tie uzņēmumi no jūsu vidus, kas plāno doties uz Expo, kas vēlas un kas ir kapacitatīvi arī to darīt un braukt uz šo tirgu, tad man kolēģi Agnija, kas ir Rīgā, jūsu labā roka, ir apkopojusi lielisku sarakstu ar pasākumiem uzņēmumiem dažādās disciplīnās. Un atcerieties, ka tie pasākumi ne visi ir saistīti ar Expo. Ir daļa pasākumu, kas notiek vienkārši reģionā Expo laikā, bet mēs kā LIA izmantosim iespēju tajos piedalīties, jo jau ir iespēja nošaut vairākus zaķus pie vienas reizes, kādēļ gan ne. Un atcerieties arī par savu darābību, un ko es vienkārši, lai jūs būtu maigāki pret Agniju, es gribēju pieteikt, ka tie datumi, ko Agnija minēs, lūdzu, nepieķerieties viņiem un avio biļetes vēl nepērciet, jo, protams, Covid un pandēmijas turbulences iespaidā arī Expo komanda joprojām šos datumus vēl mazliet bīda šurpu turpu, tā kā pasākumi notiks, bet šie datumi vai notikšanas laiks varētu mainīties. Bet, jā, Agrī, dod tev vārdu, tu vairāk varēsi pastāstīt.
Jā, paldies, Inga. Sveiciens visiem. Mani sauc Agnija Tračuma. Es pārstāvu LIA eksporta veicināšanas nodaļu, jo īpaši strādājot ar IT nozars uzņēmumiem. Un tad es būšu arī tā tiešā kontaktpersona Expo ietvaros. Ja gadījumā radīsies kādi jautājumi, droši jautājiet. Palīdzēšu jums veiksmīgāk sagatavoties, kā arī atlasīšu pasākumus kopā ar jums, kuros ņemt dalību un kuros tad organizēt Latvijas nacionālos kopstendus, tirzniecības misijas, kā arī citas aktivitātes. Turpinājumā īsi iepazīstināšu ar plānotajām izstādēm Expo laikā. Tā kā IT nozarē priekš Expo ir diezgan garš tas saraksts, tad sadalīju slaidus 2 daļos, 21. gada un 22. gada izstādes. Un paldies Ingai, kur jau ieskicēja, ka datumi tiešām var būt mainīgi un daļai pasākumu viņi vēl joprojām pat nav norādīti. Tad mēs sāksim Hardware plus Tools Middle East. Šī izstāde ir plānots organizēt mazliet pirms Expo sākuma, jūnijā jau, un izstāde ir veltīta būvniecības ražošanas mašīnbūves nozarēm ar jaunākajām instrumentiem, aparatūrām, materiāliem, programmatūrām un tehniku. Vetex izstāde ir ūdens un tehnoloģiju, kas mērķēta tieši uz inovācijām enerģētikas un apsaimniekošanas jomā. Vienu gadu arī LIA piedalījās ar kopstendu un novērojām, ka izstādē piedalās ļoti daudz valsts iestādes, līdz ar to viņas bija vieglāk uzrunāt un arī noturēt šo uzmanību, stāstot par savu produktu. Pamanīju, ka Vebināra sarakstā ir arī daži spēļu izstrādātāji. Iespējams, ka jums būtu interesanti apmeklēt vienu no lielākajiem spēļu pasākumiem Tuvajos Austrumos, Middle East Gamescom. Un jau iepriekš pieminētais Gcc ir starptautiskā IT un inovāciju izstāde, kas ir viens no iespaidīgākajiem tehnoloģiju notikumiem pasaulē, un jau pēdējos 4 gadus LIA veiksmīgi organizē Latvijas nacionālo stendu, un to darīs arī šogad. Noteikti jūs informēšu, tiklīdz pieteikšanās būs atvērta. Dubai Artificial Intelligence in Sports ir konference un izstāde, kas veltīta mākslīgā intelekta attīstībai tieši sporta nozarē, un to organizēs Dubajas sporta padome. Dubai World Congress for Self-Driving Transport. Viss par un ap pašbraucošajiem transportiem. Tas ir pasākums, kurā viena vieta pulcēsies ievērojami eksperti, speciālisti, politikas veidotāji, pētnieki un daudz citi ietekmīgi cilvēki. Young Professionals in Space Conference. Jā, es varbūt aizmirsu šo pieminēt. Daļa pasākumu būs arī veltīti kosmosa nozarei, ņemot vērā, kad arī šo lauciņu mēs pārklājam. Tad arī šī ir Young Professionals in Space Conference ir iniciatīva apvienot zinātniekus, praktiķus, inženierus un kosmosa industrijas pārstāvis vienu vietu, lai apspriestu jaunākos pētniecības un tehniskos sasniegumus, kā arī esošās un jaunās kosmosa tehnoloģijas. Tas būtu par 21. gadu. 22. gadā ir plānots organizēt Intersec Middle East, kas ir pasaulē vadošā izstāde un veltīta tieši kiberdrošībai, ugunsdrošībai, dažādām novērošanas kamerām un daudz cita ar drošību saistītajām tehnoloģijām. IDEX ir viena no pasaulē lielākajām aizsardzības, militārajām, kā arī kiberdrošības izstādēm, piedāvājot gan dalībniekiem, gan apmeklētājiem iepazīties ar visplašāko jūras, gaisa un sauszemes aprīkojumu, tehniku, programmām. 2015. gadā arī Latvija piedalījās šajā izstādē. Proti arī tiks organizētas dažādas inovāciju konferences, nedēļas. Vēl no izstādēm ir ProLight plus Sound Middle East, kas ir veltīta tieši gaismas, audio, mūzikas un izklaides tehnoloģiju, kā arī sistēmas integrācijas uzņēmumiem. Un tad viena no tādām pēdējām ir Nanotech Middle East konference un izstāde. Kā paši organizatori uzsver, tad izstādē ir kā tilts. Kā tilts, kas savieno jaunākās un daudzsološākās nanotehnoloģijas Tuvo Austrumu, Ziemeļāfrikas un Dienvidu Āzijas tirgos. Tālāk es jums pastāstīšu par aktivitātēm, kas tiks rīkotas Expo ietvaros un kur organizēta ir paša Expo. Tad tiek rīkotas tematiskās nedēļas. Visas gan vēl nav izsludinātas, bet no publiski pieejamā saraksta mēs esam atlasījuši ar nozari saistītās, kurās kā Expo dalībnieki, gan mēs, gan jūs esam aicināti piedalīties viņu rīkotajos pasākumos. Tas galvenais dalības mērķis ir piedāvāt tēmai atbilstošus uzņēmumu sasniegumus, radītus risinājumus, bet neprezentēt sevi kā komerciālos nolūkos. Vairāk daloties ar labo un inovatīvo pieredzi, tādējādi radot par sevi labu PR. Tad tā pirmā ir Space Week, jeb kosmosa nedēļa, kurā tiks galvenokārt izceltas jaunākās kosmosa izpētes un ceļojuma inovācijas, vienlaikus pulcējot profesionālus, lai apspriestu aktuāls un šobrīd svarīgas tēmas. Nākamā ir Urban un Rural Development Week, jeb pilsētas un lauku attīstības nedēļa, kuras mērķis ir apspriest un diskutēt par viedo pilsētu nākotni, ilgtspējīgiem ieradumiem. Vienu vietu šajā nedēļā pulcēsies vadošie attīstības eksperti, tehnoloģiju vizionāri un valdības pārstāvi no dažādām pasaules apdzīvotākajām pilsētām. Un tad pēdējo, kur mēs saredzējām mūsu IT uzņēmumu iesaisti, ir Knowledge and Learning Week, jeb izglītības nedēļa, kurā tiks pētīta izglītības nākotne un tās reformas būtiskums, lai galvenokārt atspoguļotu mainīgo pasauli un gūtu labumus bērniem, ekonomikai un sabiedrībai kopumā. Tad šeit mēs vairāk saredzam edtech tehnoloģijas un risinājumus, kurus tad varētu iesaistīt šajos projektos. Un pēdējais tematiskās sadarbības darba grupas. Šis ir pilnībā dalībvalstu paša iniciatīva, kur savā starpā sadarbojoties ir plāns organizēt kopīgas aktivitātes. Kā jau redzat, Latvija ir iesaistīta vairākās tematiskās grupās un interesanti ir aicināti ņemt dalību, daloties ar sasniegumiem, inovācijām. Tādēļ gaidīsim arī jūsu stāstus, idejas, ko izcelt no Latvijas puses, vai varbūt tieši jūs paši vēlaties piedalīties šajās darba grupās, tad mēs jūs varam palīdzēt iesaistīt. Jā, tad pēc webināra visiem tiks nosūtīta anketa, lai apzinātu jūsu to interesi iesaistīties gan Expo ietvaros organizētajos pasākumos, gan tajos nesaistītajās izstādēs. Ja tomēr ir kāda aktivitāte, pasākums, ko prezentācijas laikā neminēju, bet labprāt piedalītos, iespējams, kāds no jums jau ir papētījis, kur varētu piedalīties šajā laikā, lūdzu ierakstiet to laukā pie citajām aktivitātēm, un mēs labprāt izskatīsim šo iespēju piedalīties. No manas puses tas būtu viss. Paldies jums par uzmanību. Droši piefiksējiet manus kontaktus un zvaniet, rakstiet un uzdodiet jautājumus, ja ir kaut kas neskaidrs, bet citādāk tas īsumā bija viss. Paldies, Inga.
Jā, super. Paldies, Agnija. Agnijai, es teiktu, ir tāds visapjomīgākais darbs no visām šīm industrijām, jo, kā es minēju, šis mums ir pēdējais webināru ciklā, un mēs tiešām esam identificējuši 5 prioritārās industrijas, kur viena no tām pilnīgi loģiski un pamatoti ir informācijas komunikācija tehnoloģijas, un atzīšos ņemot vērā, ka šī te nozare ir prioritāra un aktīva visā pasaulē, un viņa ir noteikti strateģiski svarīga arī Tuvajos Austrumos, tad attiecīgi, protams, šie te pasākumi, kas ir gan Expo laikā, gan Expo ietvaros, gan ārpus tiem, ir visapjomīgākie un visvairāk skaita ziņā. Un man, protams, arī prieks redzēt, ka atsaucība no Latvijas uzņēmumiem ir tieši visaktīvākā šajā nozarē, un kā reiz arvien vairāk labas ziņas par mūsu IKT nozari publiski ir pieejamas un pierādās, ka šī industrija mums ir ļoti spējīga un tiešām tai ir ko piedāvāt. Vēl gribēju paralēli pielikt tam, ko Agnija minēja. Mēs no jums šo te atgriezenisko saiti uz nosūtīto linku jūsu atbildes gaidām nedēļas laikā. Protams, arī pēc tam varēsiet izteikt savus intereses un vajadzības, bet tas mērķis ir principā šobrīd saprast, kas tad ir tas apjoms, kas ir tās izstādes, kas ir aktivitātes, kas jūs interesē, lai mēs varam laicīgi sākt rezervēt vietas un organizēt programmu, jo kaut kādā brīdī, protams, tas vilciens jau būs aizgājis. Un tas ir ne tikai dēļ šiem te pieteikšanās termiņiem, bet arī, lai mēs laicīgi ar jums varam sākt strādāt, jo jārēķinās, ka Expo visa šī te programma un aktivitātes būs ļoti apjomīgas, izmērā, skaitā un visādi citādi. Tādēļ mums jūsu interese ir nepieciešama saprast šobrīd, lai nav tā, ka mēs paši izdomājam organizēt, stendu tai pašā spēļu izstādē, bet varbūt, ka ir tikai viens uzņēmums, kurš ir sapratis, ka viņiem interesē šis te reģions un nav vajadzība piedalīties te, bet varbūt nanotehnoloģijās pēkšņi ir 10 uzņēmumi, kur saredz savas iespējas vai sporta tehnoloģiju jomā. Un arī tiešām atbalstīšu Agnijas teikto par to, ka mēs esam ļoti atvērti arī jūsu idejām un iniciatīvām, jo, protams, jūs kā uzņēmēji esat pats radošākais profils dažādos veidos. Jūs ziniet, kā vislabāk jūsu produktu un risinājumus komunicēt uz āru. Un ja jūs redzat, ka var būt kaut kāds cits veids, pasākums vai varbūt pat kampaņveidīgs kaut kas, ko mēs varam darīt paviljonā ar konkrētu nišu vai nozari, vai, piemēram, uztaisīt, spēļu 3 dienu, ja, kad var nākt apmeklētāji 3. stāvā, izmēģināt dažādas, virtuālās spēles vai kā savādāk. Mēs esam tiešām atvērti šīm te trakajām idejām, un mēs ļoti novērtēsim to jūsu iesaisti gan ideju, gan radošuma, gan visādi citādi idejās, lai mēs varam ar jums kopā to visu realizēt un tiešām nest jums vislielāko pievienoto vērtību, jo tas pamats, kādēļ mēs piedalāmies Expo, mērķis ir uzņēmēji. Un tādēļ tā jūsu atgriezeniskā saite un kā lai pasaka, komitments, jeb gatavība piedalīties un tiešām to arī darīt mērķiecīgi un pacietīgi un neatlaidīgi ir pats svarīgākais mūsu kopīgā veiksmīgā sadarbībā. Ja jums vēl ir kaut kādi jautājumi, jums ir visi kontakti, mēs vienmēr esam ļoti, ļoti atvērti un gatavi atbildēt un tikties un runāt un stāstīt. Izmantojiet noteikti iespēju ieskatīties gan Lijā mājaslapā, gan jaunizveidotajā Expo 2020.lv lapā, kurā mēs arvien vairāk liksim, tur ir jau atsevišķa sadaļa uzņēmējiem, tur būs arī pieejams šī webināra ieraksts, kur jūs varēsiet vēlreiz noskatīties un apskatīt šo te informāciju. Bet kurā gadījumā sākam lielo darbu. Gaidīsim no jums tiešām nedēļas ietvaros atgriezienisko saiti un nebaidieties jautāt vai ieteikt, ja ir tāda vajadzība vai skatījums. Un, ir jau diezgan laiks patērēts, jādodas pie darba, un paldies jums tiešām vēlreiz par uzmanīgu, laimīgu, veselīgu jauno gadu, un es ceru, ka mēs tiksimies Dubajā visi.